So Jay, CEO, founder of Transreport, welcome to the Blackfinch Ventures Fearless Founder Series.
Thank you, Reuben. Good to be here.
Pleasure. So we invested in your company towards the back end of 2020, didn't we, through our EIS portfolio service?
Yeah.
But tell me, how did it all begin? What's the origin story for Transreport?
Well, the original story started when I was doing my PhD research at Warwick University. And when I was presenting my ideas, there was a disabled gentleman who's a wheelchair user in the audience. And after my presentation, he pulled me over and said, Jay, I really like your technology. Have you ever thought about how to apply that to help disabled people traveling on the railway network? So then we started talking, and he basically telling me the stories. Some of them are, horrific, to be honest. How he got stuck on the train, and at times that day he couldn't use a disabled toilet. So unfortunate incident happens. Every time he need to go to a train station, he worried it's going to be somebody helping him to get on the train. But that's not even the worst part. The worst part is that once he on the train, he would worry whether he would get off at the arrival station. There are incidents happen where he was arrived, couldn't get off, and then stuck on the train with several stops down the line. So his anxiety actually kicked in the moment he find out that he need to use train. Maybe that journey takes place in a week later, a month later. He would start worrying the moment he find out about that. And you just realize that we, sometimes taking train for, as granted. We don't even think about it, and it's such a psychological burden for people who has got disabilities. Hence, it's just like I feel like I had to do something about it. Hence, that weekend, I was living in Coventry, and I was in my garage. I plugged my laptop, was coding away, thinking about ideas. And it was raining like hell in Coventry, and my garage was totally flooded. And I was standing there in my valleys, coding away, thinking I'm so cool, that sort of thing. And on Monday, I had a prototype, and so I showed to the train company through my contact, and they say, why don't you come to our accessibility panel to show to the rail disabled passenger? So they booked me in for 15 minutes to demonstrate the idea, and that 15 minutes turned into a 2-hour discussion. And you can see those disabled passengers' face light up. They're really, really passionate about this. So this could really change, the way I travel. And it's just like I hit my epiphany.
So that was the beginning, and all the best startups start in the garage, don't they? Let's be honest with you. But what happened next? How did you take it to the next stage of product development and commerciality?
Yeah, I think I was very lucky that I found a train company who are very, very much visionaries, and at the time very, very support startups. So once I presented the idea to the panel, they agreed to do a trial, supporting us, because there's a lot of inside operation things that I need to find out. So we spent about 6 months really sort of tailor the solution technology around the train company's operation. And then we started doing the trial, and the BBC heard about us. So they come in and say, look, we know we're doing something, and in November they have an accessibility week. They want to promote some news and technology. They said, we're going to give you a 2-minute slot to talk about this. And then that 2 minutes turned into a 10 minutes full-on special program, and we broadcast, BBC News 24 hours for the entire week. That was something. And after that, other train company find out, and then we have a rail delivery group, which representing all the train company in the UK. They reach out to us and say, look, Jay, we heard about your trial. Why don't you come and present to us? Yeah.
And what you've done as an early stage company, as a startup, getting into such a well-established industry and with such long lead times, I mean, how have you pulled that off? Because that's a very tricky thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we worked tirelessly. I mean, use the RDG as an example. I remember the first time I go in presenting the solution, they were very, very positive about it. But the one thing they say, why don't you have a journey planner in your app? Because at the time, my design was passenger actually select a time to what time I'll arrive at the station. They say if you can have a journey planner, then you just pick a train. You automatically know the departure arrival time. I think the advice is really valid. And they say that we have a follow-up meeting next week, but you have no chance of pulling that off within a week. So as long as you have some drawing and a design, that'll be enough. And I was thinking, I gotta impress them. So that entire week, no sleep whatsoever. I was young back then, and got a few friends help me out, and we got the API connected, the journey planner was in, and when I come into the next week's presentation, I say, oh, remember you suggested the journey planner in my app. Here it is. And they couldn't believe it. They just couldn't believe it. And I said, how the hell get it in? I said, yeah. We think it's a good idea. I want to put it in. And that, I think, really impressed that they know we're sincere about this, even though we are a very early stage startup, but we're passionate about what we do. That, on some level, I think, really moved a lot of broker. I think people within Rail start to believe, okay, Transreport really mean what they're saying. And that start to sort of uncover a lot of the challenges for us. Yeah.
I mean, they must have been blown away with how quickly you developed that, considering how long that would have taken, the industries they normally work with, I suppose.
But that's startup do, right? Sometimes we don't follow this traditional step. You gotta stand out in some way, and agility is one of the things.
So you got your foot in the door, and then it was about trying to create a system that you could put into full production.
Yes.
You could get, really throughout the whole network. And I'm sure that was no easy ride. How did you get to that point where it was really starting to be used by lots of passengers?
It was a really complex process, because in the UK, we have 24 different operators, and they all have slightly different policies, business process. So it's easy to do for one train company where we want to scale up to nationwide. It's just completely, different ball game. So we spent years working with a train company, going to train station, actually observe how they do the process, have workshops, visiting call centers. Several times we go to Scotland, because the call center is based in Scotland. We go there, and but never a time we forgot that this is designed for disabled people. So we work with many charities. We have our accessibility panel to make sure whatever we develop would fit for their purpose. And we also, very luckily, we got the backing from the government. The DFT provided funding for the project initially, and OR, the Office for Rail and Road, who's the regulator for the railway, gave us a lot of advice, and also shared with us their vision of how the railway should be, run to accommodate needs from the disabled people. So we know how to tailor technology to fit in the vision of the regulators. A combination of all this together, I think that's how we conquered this massive problem.
And you've been just immensely patient along the way, haven't you? Being able to sort of see that vision of penetrating the market. And you're thinking you haven't been patient, but I mean, I can tell you, to have that long-term, multi-year plan to get into that kind of industry has been incredible. But in terms of your team, and we were talking about this earlier, you have such a clear mission and values as a company. How important do you think that's been in getting the best team around you?
I think I say this to my team every Friday. They're probably already fed up with this. I thank them every Friday to say, look, I cannot do this on my own. They are incredible people. We have people graduated from Oxford, Cambridge, first class, worked for a big company before. One way or another, they all believe in the vision what we're trying to do. We want to provide a better experience for everyone. So a lot of them even take a pay cut to join Transreport. I mean, what can you say? For me, I think it's all about creating a culture there where people can really shine. Many people, they are very good on some aspect. You really give them the power, independent to really lead on that project. At Transreport, we don't call really people junior, senior. I mean, there are people who probably have a less experience, but they come in, they're really good in some certain areas. They take the lead. I think that's one thing we really, really treasure as a startup. Because I know I have absolutely no working experience before Transreport. I never worked a day in my life. I've always been a student. So if I can lead a company, I'm sure a lot of people have the good qualities we can learn from. And then I always try to create this family feeling. I know it sounds cliche, all the families, all companies talking about, we're a big family, that. But because I live abroad, I'm not, I haven't go back to see my parents for 3 years, and we have a lot of colleagues, who also study abroad and straight away join Transreport. So we all know that it's sometimes difficult, especially at work. It's up and downs. And in life as well, we always try to support everyone, regardless whether it's work related or private life. We're always here, and the culture is important, and that's how we build a team.
And that culture and those family values have got you through the challenging times, I suppose, as well as the great times. Really,
absolutely. And I again here I want to say a massive thank you to the team members, and especially to the senior team members at Transreport. During the COVID time, it was really tough. Everybody need to work from home, and we're all isolating. At the time, we're really worried, where the company's going, where people, start to, the culture will ever collapse. But we really hold it together, and even at the very difficult times, where the senior say, look out for my team member first. Don't worry about me. Because I got savings, this and that. Because as a company, we have difficult times, really difficult times, but we get through all this together, and that's why every team lead has got absolute respect from their team member. I think that's the way.
It's really important, isn't it? And so, Jay, today, as you stand today, if you had to summarise to those that are not familiar with Transreport what the company does, what the product is, or the products, and there's more than one, how would you do that?
Well, I will say that the Transreport is a technology company focusing on improving the customer experience for people with disability or any special needs. So we're talking about older passenger, pregnant individual, even people traveling with large families, because we believe that everybody deserves to have a hassle-free, enjoyable experience when they use public transport. Especially nowadays, we say that you can track a pizza delivered to your door. It's almost ridiculous to think about disabled people have to worry, can I get on a train or not? We want to remove the barrier. I want to make everybody truly accessible. But we're not just stopping within rail sector. We're expanding outside of rail. We're talking to airports. We're talking to different type of transport like taxi, bus, underground. We want to provide a one-stop shop, a door-to-door accessible travel experience for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you're really using technology and innovation to make a huge difference to people's lives, aren't you? And it's great to be invested in such a company. It's always great when we can talk about just how we think we're sort of helping shape the world around us through the investments and the support. But tell me, we talked about challenges earlier. What for you, I know there's been many, no doubt, but what would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've faced throughout the journey so far?
Wow. Well, in a cliche way, I think the biggest challenge will always be the next one. You don't know. I think if you're looking back, I think for me the biggest challenge was because I had a sort of no experience starting Transreport with them. I didn't realize the power of capital. Getting the investors on board early, because Transreport started in a very lucky way that we have always been profitable since day one. Hence, we've always been organically grow the business. But once we have the investment from Blackfinch, we really see that additional funding allow us to scale out the business really, really quickly. And I think that's really powerful. If you're looking back, I wish I could do this, a couple of years earlier, because I have the vision, our team had the vision, and we need to speedize that. We need to really, really grab the moment. I'm very thankful for Blackfinch, believing in us, giving us the funding, keep supporting us, and I hope that other people will share our vision, realizing that we're living in a society that we're going to aging population, right? It's no doubt, and all the developing countries are going through that. And as more people living longer, more people will experience accessibility issues. We really need to act now because we're building something for the future for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Yeah.
The thing about capital is that the team's brilliant and the team grows, but the reality is if you've got capital, it means you can move fast, doesn't it? And an opportunity comes up, you can move fast. But just sort of looking at where you are today, and we talked earlier about your origin story, how it all started, how has that growth looked like over the last few years?
Yeah, I think that capital really gave us the injection to allow us to grow faster than before. Ever since the investment from Blackfinch, we have almost tripled our ARR, quadrupled our annual revenue. That's why it gave us confidence to really expand the team. When you guys invested, we'll have less than 20 people. Now we're close to 60. It's a big team, but when you do a big project, you need a big team, and you need a good team.
And that kind of growth through times where everything's been so uncertain is really, we've been really impressed, that's for sure. But if you cast your eye a little bit into the future, not all the way, but just the next, say, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, without being too specific, how do you think things are going to shape up for you?
I think for us, as I said earlier, that our vision is to provide everybody a door-to-door accessible experience. Hence, we are exploring opportunity to expand outside the UK rail. So we're talking to airports, we're also talking to operators that is outside the UK in a different country. Very promising discussions. We have done our trial, very, very good feedback. I think in the next few months, hopefully next year, we will see Transreport operating in a different sector and a different country.
If it works in the UK, why not take it to the rest of the world, I guess?
Exactly.
But casting your mind now much further into the distance, 5 years' time, what is your vision for Transreport?
Well, many people will discuss this with me, and many people think, "Oh, Transreport, who is your competitor, and what do you want to be in the future? Are you going to be a train line? Are you going to be Expedia?" Well, for me, we're sort of in a different space. We're not just focusing on train, and our sort of a point is not selling train tickets, or we're not a competitor for train line. Expedia, maybe yes, but I want Transreport to be more like a Google Map. Nowadays, if you want to go anywhere, the first thing you do is to pull out your phone, search on Google Map. Okay, that's how I get there. I want everybody who needs any sort of assistance when they need to travel anywhere, the first thing thinking about is that I want to get on this app, passenger assistance. So I know that on this app, I can arrange my assistance every step of the way, knowing that those people are going to be there at the right time, knowing exactly what I need, the hassle-free travel experience. That's what I want.
Seems like a future that we can all really believe in. Well, Jay, CEO and founder of Transreport, thank you so much for joining the Fearless Founders series. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Reuben. Thank you.